Hi student, good morning. Today we are going to discuss topic number 18. The title is variation and selection. As you know that this variation and selection both are you know are to be studied in the branch of genetics, and you know that genetics is the study of gene, because gene is responsible to inherit the characteristics, and also gene is responsible to make variations. So now come to the first slide. What is the subcontents of the topic 18? So see, for the first one, is the variation. What is variation? Variation refers to the differences between each organism in a species. Variation is beneficial to a species as it allows natural selections to occur and reduces the risk of extinctions from the disease. There are two types of variation: genetic variation and phenotypic variation. This genetic variation, fully based on the gene. Okay, whatever the change take place in the gene, so due to this gene, the genetic variation take place. And each organism in a species has a different set of DNA, which is due to genetic variation. Genetic variation is increased during meiosis, which produces gametes. Each gamete has a different set of allele, which means that when the two gametes fuse, an entirely new set of genes are produced. So here, that in genetic variation, environment doesn't play any role. Okay, because it is fully based on the gene. For example, like the blood groups is controlled by the gene. So when we are born, so we are having a specific blood group. So this blood group never change in the whole life. Why? Because it is fully based on the gene. Now, phenotypic variation, the the phenotypic of an organism refers to its observable characteristics. Mean appearance of the organisms is called as the phenotypic variation, such as the height or a hair color. Phenotypically, variation can be caused by both genetic and environmental factors. Here you can see genetic and environmental factors, mean both the factors are involved here. Gene is responsible as well as the environmental factors involved. For example, the potential height of an organism is decided in genes which come from the parents, although some organisms will never reach this height as they do not receive enough nutrients from their environment. Variation can be continuous and discontinuous variation. See the difference between the continuous and discontinuous variation. Continuous variation, it is again, based on fully on the gene. Environment doesn't play any role in it. But continuous variation, is based on the gene as well as the environmental factors. Now, see here, continuous variation results in a range of phenotypes between two extremes, for example, height or weight. Discontinuous variations, however, is limited to a discrete number of categories, such as blood groups, which is limited to A, B, AB, or O in human. Discontinuous variation is mainly caused by the gene alone. Mean environment doesn't play any role in it. And this discontinuous type of variation are once, like they are going to produce. Okay, so they never change the whole life, as I've given you the example of the blood groups. Now, mutation. What is mutation? Mutation, the change in the gene or the change in chromosome. Okay, so just because of this change, the phenotype of an organism is changed. See here, mutations are genetic changes which result in a change in the sequence of DNA bases. These changes can occur due to a variety of factors, including exposure to some chemicals and ionizing radiation. So basically, there are two main reasons of the mutation. The first reason, is the chemicals, and the second reason is radiation. If the mutation occurs at the particular allele, this allele may be altered, changing how it functions. This is how new alleles are formed. An example of this is sickle cell anemia. Sickle anemia is a condition where red blood cells become sickle shape. Sickle shape means, like, the shape of the RBC become like in the like a crescent moon. And you know very well that the normal shape of the RBC, is biconcave. And if there is a mutation in the cells, so the shape of the RBC is changed, and it become like, sickle like. And just because of this, what happens, the surface area of RBC is changed, means the surface area is reduced. So sickle cells carry less oxygen and can block blood vessels. This condition is caused by a mutation in the beta hemoglobin gene, which alters the allele which produces hemoglobin protein. This allele is recessive, thus it is only present in the phenotype. If two copies of the allele are present, okay, that is homozygous. You know very well that if the both the genes, are same, so this is called as the homozygous, means the pair of identical gene, either both are recessive or both are dominant. So this is called as a homozygous. The mutation can also have positive effects. Peoples who are homozygous or heterozygous, that is, have one sickle cell allele and one unmutated allele, are immune to malaria. Simply, those people who are having a sickle cell anemia, they are safe from the malaria, because you know that malaria, is caused by the plasmodium, which is inserted by the bites of insects, especially mosquito. So when the mosquito bites, it transfer the plasmodium in the body. These plasmodium, they identify the RBC. Okay, the shape of RBC, as I told you, that it is biconcave. So if the shape of the RBC is biconcave, then they are going to invade on RBC. But if the shape of the RBC is changed, or it become like a crescent moon or the sickle like, so the RBC do not identify these. The plasmodium do not identify the RBC, due to which the person is safe from the malaria. Sickle cell anemia, therefore, commonly found in the areas where malaria is common. This shows that natural selection for this gene is occurring in these areas, as those with the genes do not catch the disease and are more likely to survive. This allows this allele to be preserved. Now, another topic, subtopic is there. This is adaptations. Adaptations, these are the positive characteristics, which are produced in the an organism that enable the organism to cope up in the environmental conditions. See here, adaptive features are inherited functional features that help the organism by increasing its fitness, which is the ability of an organism to survive and reproduce in its environment. Now, here we are going to talk about the special type of adaptations in the plant, and based on the adaptations, plants are to be classified, okay, into some groups, like, xerophytes, halophytes, hydrophytes, and mesophytes. Basically, there are four types, but in IGCSE syllabus, there are only two types, that is xerophytes and hydrophytes. So we have to just compare the difference, or compare the hydrophytes and the xerophytes. So what are the characteristics of the xerophytes? So xerophytes, you know very well that these are the plants which are found in a very dry climate, such as a cacti. That's a desert plant. They have a number of adaptive features that helps to increase survival by reducing the water loss. Now, what are the other adaptations? See here, fewer stomata, mean the number of stomata is very less, due to which, they excrete little water. And small rolled leaves or spines, okay, mean the leaves are going to be rolled out, okay. So just because of this, uh, more water is not to be, transpire by the plant, so the water can be preserved in the body of plant, because the plant needs water for the process of photosynthesis. Now deep roots, yes, in the desert, there is a no water, or sometimes very little water is there, due to which the roots of the plant become long and long in search of water. Now thick waxy cuticle, yes, the leaf or the stem has a thick waxy cuticle. This waxy cuticle is like the waterproof, okay, that prevent the loss of water. Okay, as you can see in the diagram, that all these adaptations, you can see here that the leaves are very thick because of the presence of the waxy layer, and the roots are become long and long in search of water. Now, another type of plant, that is hydrophytes, that is opposite to the xerophytes. Xerophytes, are found in the places where there is less water, but hydrophytes are those plants which are found in a very wet conditions. Now, what are the special type of adaptations in the hydrophytes? So, leaf shape. The first adaptation found in the leaf shape, that leaves are usually large and flat to have a large surface area, which promotes water loss. Second adaptation is stomata, position on the top of the leaf, because the bottom part is deep in the water, so the top part is exposed by the air. So the stomata, which are the opening, that they can easily exchange the gases, they can also transpire water. And thin or no waxy cuticle, yes, because here there is no need to preserve water, because there is too much water already in the plant, so no need having a very thick cuticle. A small root system, yes, the roots are very short, because the roots are not become long in such a water. Now we are going to talk about the selection. Actually, there are two type of selection. One type of selection we call as the natural selection, and the another, is the artificial selection. So what is natural selection? Natural selection is where an organism with favorable allele and advantageous characteristics have a higher probability of surviving and reproducing. This is due to the competition within the population of for resources and mates. Means this natural selection take place in those areas where there is a overproduction. When there is a overproduction, so there is a competition for the survival uh, among the organisms. As there is a variation in the alleles of each species, each organism within the species has a different traits, some positive and some negative. Those with a more positive traits can adapt to the environment more effectively, and others is more likely to survive and produce many offsprings which inherit these alleles. Over time, negative characteristics are lost from the species, as organisms with those characteristics are not able to reproduce to pass on their alleles. This is known as the evolution. Yeah, see here, when when small adaptations take place, okay, so the organism are having a changes, these changes, the physical as well as the anatomical internal changes. When so many changes take place in an organism, then a new species form, and this process we call as evolution. Evolution allows a population to become more adapted to its environment over a time as a result of natural selection. Now here we are going to take the example of the natural selection. For example, see here the antibiotic resistance. Yes. See, if the doctor prescribe antibiotic in the bacterial or the fungal infection, and the doctor prescribe it to take to take it about 5 days or 7 days, and if the persons just complete the course, so it's no issue. But if the person does not complete the course, okay, he takes only 3 days, after that he feels recovery, then he uh, left the left to taking antibiotics. So what happens? The bacteria which become inactive, okay, they again become active, and if the same type of antibiotic is given, then this antibiotic doesn't work. Okay, so what exactly happened? uh, Actually, the bacteria has some mutation. Okay, that mutation enable them to resist this antibiotic. So when that antibiotic is administered, this cell is not killed, whereas cells which have not become resistant are killed. So the resistant cells can therefore survive and reproduce, passing on the resistant allele to produce more resistant bacteria. So what we understand here, that whenever the doctor prescribe any antibiotics, we are supposed to complete the whole course of antibiotics so that all the bacteria, specifically the pathogens, are going to be killed. Now here you can see our natural selections. Actually, for on the natural selection, some scientists, they have given the theories. For example, Darwin theory for the natural selection, and then the Lamarck theory is there. But here we have to focus especially on the Darwin theory. For example, see the overproduction. Whenever you see here in the diagram that whenever there is overproduction of an organism, so what happens? The competition starts. Okay, and when the competition starts, then some organism have variation, so they can survive. So those organisms which have the variation, they can survive. Okay, and they can get, like, some positive characteristics. Okay, but those organisms which are not which are not change themselves, or which are not go under the process of variation, then they cannot survive. Okay, they are going to be extinct. So see, genetic mutation causes drug resistance. Also, you can see here in the diagram that when we take antibiotic, okay, so there is a mutation in DNA of bacterium, due to which this bacterium resists the antibiotics. Okay, now selective breeding is where humans select animals or plants with desirable features and breed these together to make more offspring with these desirable features. Okay, this is also called as the artificial selection. This process is repeated over many generation, as this breeding is controlled by human. It is known as artificial selection. For example, like, if you bring some birds from the other country and introduce in your country, so what happens when this bird is going to have interbreeding with the local birds? So the new type of characteristics are going to be produced in the new generations. So this is the man-made variation. So this variation or this selection is named as the artificial selection. An example of selective breeding of animal is the German Shepherd. These dogs were originally bred as working dogs to herd sheep, as they are known for their intelligence and agility. Humans selectively breed these dogs to exaggerate desirable qualities, such as their sloping back and large ears. This involves the crossing dogs, which show these traits so that the alleles are passed on their offspring. So here, that whenever, like, we are going to just have a selective breeding process. Okay, so in the selective breeding, we are transfer the new gene in the local organisms. So due to which, we see the variations in the organism. Another example, see, farmer also selectively breed crops. For example, bananas are selectively bred for their size, shape, and easiness to peel. This means that plants which express these characteristics are bred to produce more offspring with desirable characteristics. So this is the last topic of uh, topic number 18. Okay, so now if you have any questions in your mind, okay, you can ask me. Okay, you can see my WhatsApp number is there, my email address is there, and this lecture is also available on the TikTok and the YouTube. Okay, so if you have any confusion, you can just uh, send me the message, okay, in the comments, or, like, you can contact me uh, in the email. So I hope you understand very well. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.